writer hunched over their laptop, the glow of the screen casting long shadows across the dim apartment as rain tapped relentlessly against the windows like impatient fingers. The storm had knocked out the Wi-Fi hours ago, leaving only the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the occasional crackle of static from the forgotten TV in the corner. A gust of wind rattled the pane, making them glance up, just as their phone buzzed violently against the desk, the screen illuminating with an impossible caller ID, their own number. Heart pounding, they hesitated, thumb hovering over the answer button before the silence shattered with the shrill ringtone a second time. This time they swiped to accept, only to hear their own breath, ragged and familiar, before a whispered voice that was undeniably theirs hissed, "Hang up before they hear you." The line went dead, plunging the room back into silence except for the faint, wet sound of something dragging itself slowly across the kitchen floor behind them. The TV hissed to life on its own, its screen erupting into a storm of grainy static that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. The writer barely noticed at first, just another quirk of the old apartment's wiring, another ghost in the machine. But then the volume crept up, a low, droning buzz that filled the room, louder than the rain, louder than their own breathing. They reached for the remote, thumb jamming the power button. Nothing. The static didn't stop. If anything, it sharpened, coalescing into something almost rhythmic, like whispers, like words, a flicker, a shape. For half a second the static cleared, just long enough for the writer to see themselves on the screen, staring back with wide, hollow eyes. Then the image twisted, their reflections, mouth stretching too wide, peeling open to reveal rows of needle teeth, as the sound surged into a deafening scream before cutting off entirely. The TV went black, the room plunged into silence, and then, from the bedroom down the hall, the same staticky whisper crackled to life again. This time, it wasn't coming from the TV. It was coming from their phone, still clutched in their trembling hand. "You shouldn't have looked," their own voice murmured. "Now they know you're here." The phone lit up with a violent buzz, skittering across the desk like something alive. The writer flinched, knocking over their coffee mug, but the shattering ceramic barely registered as their eyes locked onto the screen. The caller ID flashed their own name, their own number. A cold finger of dread traced their spine. They'd heard of spam calls, of spoofed numbers, but this felt different. The phone kept ringing, each shrill tone sharper than the last, as if whatever was calling wasn't just mimicking their number, it was waiting for them. Their thumb hovered over the answer button, pulse hammering in their throat. "Don't pick up," some primal instinct screamed, but curiosity or something darker won out. The moment they swiped to accept, the line clicked open to the sound of their own ragged breathing. Then a whisper, not an echo, not a recording, but their voice, raw with terror, forming words they'd never spoken. There in the walls, a wet guttural choking sound cut off the call. The screen went black, and then, from somewhere inside the apartment, a muffled thud answered back. With a trembling finger, they swiped to answer. Silence stretched like a held breath, broken only by the faint crackle of the open line. Then, barely audible beneath the static, came a whisper so chillingly familiar it froze their blood. "Hang up before they hear you." Their own voice, but strangled with fear, each word trembling as if ripped from a nightmare. The call cut abruptly, plunging the room back into silence just as the floorboards in the hallway creaked under an unseen weight. Their phone screen flickered one last warning before going dark, reflecting not just their pale face in the glass, but a shadowed figure looming behind them, its lips moving in perfect sync with the vanished whisper. The voice on the line was undeniably theirs, same cadence, same slight rasp from too many late nights, but warped by a terror so visceral it made their skin crawl. It wasn't just the words, but the way they gasped between syllables, as if fighting for air, as if something were pressing down on their chest. The familiarity made it worse. This wasn't some distorted recording or impersonator. It was them, or some shattered version of them, whispering a warning they didn't yet understand. And in the breathless silence that followed, they realized the call hadn't ended. Something was still on the line, listening, breathing, waiting. The line went dead with a hollow click, leaving only the sound of their own panicked breathing. But when they pulled the phone away, the screen showed no record of the call ever happening. No missed call, no voicemail, just the empty log staring back like a lie. Their thumbs swiped frantically through recent activity, but the only proof it hadn't been a hallucination was the cold sweat on their palm and the way the shadows in the room now seemed to cling too close, too still, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Then, faint but unmistakable, the sound of a phone ringing echoed from somewhere, deeper in the apartment, muffled, distant, and ringing from their number. They let out a shaky laugh, rubbing their temples. Just a prank call, some stupid glitch in the system. The storm probably screwed with the cell towers. That's all. They tossed the phone onto the couch, forcing themselves to take a deep breath, when suddenly the TV hissed. The static surged, the screen flickering like a dying pulse. Their breath caught. It wasn't just random noise anymore. The grainy black and white swirls twisted, contorting into something almost recognizable. A face in the static. Their own but wrong stretched, the features warped like melted wax, the mouth gaping in a silent scream. The eyes were hollow pits, yet somehow staring right at them. The writer stumbled back, heart slamming against their ribs, as the image flickered again. This time, the mouth moved. No sound came from the speakers, but they felt the words anyway, vibrating in their skull like a struck chord. You shouldn't have answered. Then, as abruptly as it appeared, the face dissolved back into static. The TV screen went black, the room plunging into silence, so thick it pressed against their eardrums. Their phone buzzed again from the couch. Slowly, dread coiling in their gut, they turned to look. The screen lit up with a new notification, one new voicemail. The timestamp, 3 minutes from now. A flicker of movement caught their eye, a shadow darting past the hallway mirror. They spun around, pulse skyrocketing, but the corridor stood empty, just the dim glow of the nightlight reflecting off the glass. Their breath fogged the mirror as they leaned closer, searching for any sign of disturbance. That's when they saw it, a single smudged handprint on the surface, too large to be their own, fingers splayed as if someone had pressed against it from the other side. Their phone buzzed in their pocket, sharp and insistent. They fumbled to pull it out, nearly dropping it as the screen illuminated one new voicemail. The timestamp showed it had been left seconds ago, while they'd been staring at the mirror. The shadow, the handprint, none of it made sense, but the voicemail icon pulsed like a warning, demanding to be heard. Their thumb hovered over it, torn between dread and the crushing need to know. A floorboard creaked behind them. They whirled around, but the hallway was still empty, except for the mirror. Their reflection stared back, pale and wide-eyed, but wrong. The angle was off. Their mirror self stood slightly straighter, lips curled into a smile they weren't making. Then, as if sensing they'd noticed, their reflection mouthed two silent words, "Play it." The voicemail began automatically, their own voice rasping through the speaker, "Don't turn around." The voicemail clicked on, and their own voice erupted from the speaker, raw with terror, words tumbling over each other in a frantic whisper. "They're in the walls. Don't let them know you're listening." The message ended abruptly, but not before they caught the unmistakable sound of something moving in the background, a slow, deliberate scratching, like claws dragging across drywall. Their skin prickled as the noise seemed to echo beyond the phone, seeping into the silence of the apartment itself. Then, as if on cue, the lights flickered, plunging the room into near darkness, before surging back to life. The scratching didn't stop. It grew louder, more insistent, now coming from inside the walls, a skittering, scraping rhythm that matched the pounding of their heart. The lights flickered again, and this time, they caught movement in the periphery of their vision, something shifting behind the wallpaper, bulging slightly, as if pressing against it from the other side. The voicemail replayed on its own, their panicked voice now warped and guttural. "Too late. They heard you." The lights went out for good, leaving only the sound of something breathing. In the dark, not from the phone, not from the walls, but from right behind them, the air from the vents turned icy, carrying a chorus of whispers, so faint they seemed to slither between the walls, murmurs that coiled around their ears, just below comprehension, until one word broke through with chilling clarity, their name, not spoken but hissed, in a voice that mirrored their own yet dripped with something inhuman. The whispers multiplied, overlapping, growing louder with each repetition, as if countless versions of themselves were trapped in the ducts, scratching to get out, until the vent cover above them rattled violently, and a single, guttural whisper finished the thought, "Let us in." They caught their own gaze in the bathroom mirror, as they splashed water on their face, trying to shake off the creeping dread, but when they blinked, their reflections' eyes stayed open. A jolt of adrenaline shot through them. They froze, staring, waiting for the illusion to correct itself. Then it happened again. Their reflections' eyelids slid shut a heartbeat after theirs. The delay just long enough to be unmistakable. The reflections' lips twitched, as if fighting a smile, while their own mouth hung slack with horror. The air grew thick, the hum of the bathroom fan distorting into something that sounded like laughter. And that's when they noticed the fog on the mirror wasn't from their breath. It was spreading from the edges inward, as if something had exhaled against the glass from the other side. They stumbled back, colliding with the shower curtain, their pulse roaring in their ears. The mirror fogged completely for a moment, then cleared in an instant, as if wiped away by an invisible hand. A glistening handprint now stained the surface, fingers splayed too wide, the webbing between them stretched like something amphibious. They raised their own trembling hands, turning them over in front of them, dry, clean. The handprint dripped, streaks of moisture sliding down like tears, and the reflection finally moved on its own. It tilted its head, slow and predatory, and raised a single finger to its lips. As behind them, the shower turned on full blast, water hitting the tiles with a sound like rushing blood. The mirror fogged over again. This time words appeared scrawled in the condensation. "You're already dead." With trembling fingers, they dialed their closest friend, desperate for reassurance. But the moment the line connected, their friend's voice cut through with icy confusion. "Why are you calling again? You just told me you were trapped in the walls." The blood drained from their face as their friend continued. "You kept whispering, said something was wearing your skin." A choked silence followed, broken only by the sound of something heavy, dragging itself across the ceiling above them. And then, from both the phone and the hallway beyond the bathroom, their own voice echoed in perfect unison, gurgling wetly, "We lied, you never hung up." The realization hit them like a physical blow. Every unnatural whisper, every flickering shadow, every warped reflection hadn't been a trick of the mind. Something was inside the apartment, moving through it like a virus, twisting reality itself to wear their face. The walls seemed to pulse around them, breathing in time with the static hissing from the TV. And as their gaze darted to the hallway mirror, they finally understood. Their reflection wasn't mimicking them anymore. It was leading, and behind it, in the glass's depths, countless other versions of themselves pressed forward, fingers scraping against the surface, mouths stretched in silent screams, all waiting for the moment the barrier between here and there finally shattered. The phone suddenly lit up on its own, the voicemail replaying without being touched. This time their own voice came through distorted and broken, each syllable dripping with grim finality. Too late. As the words faded into static, every electronic device in the apartment simultaneously erupted. The TV blared white noise at deafening volume, the microwave beeped hysterically, and the smoke detector screeched, continuous alarm, all while the front door's deadbolt slowly turned by itself with an audible click, sealing them inside with whatever had been calling and was now here. The bathroom door groaned open with a slow, deliberate creak, though no hand had touched the knob. Inside, the shower roared at full blast, a thick curtain of steam billowing out into the hallway. The mirror was already fogged over, its surface streaked with rivulets of condensation that snaked downward like claw marks. The scent of copper and damp earth filled the air, wrong metallic alive as the tiles beneath their feet grew slick with water that shouldn't have been warm. Not yet, not unless someone had been in there long before the shower turned on. A shadow moved behind the fogged glass of the shower door, a silhouette too tall, too gaunt, its limbs twitching in jagged, unnatural motions. The mirror's surface trembled, droplets shivering as if something were pressing against it from the other side. Then, with a sound like cracking bone, a single word carved itself into the fog, letters forming from the dripping water. "Join." The shower spray hit the tiles in a rhythm that almost sounded like speech, like chanting, and the shadow behind the glass turned its head too far too fast until the profile was unmistakable. Their face, their smile, their hollow blackened eyes, their breath hitched as the figure in the mirror loomed closer, its hollow eyes locking onto theirs, while its lips moved in perfect, grotesque sync with the voicemail's whisper, "Too late." The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely, plunging them into suffocating darkness just as a skeletal hand, slick with something warm and metallic, slithered out from behind the mirror and clamped around their wrist. The grip was vice-like, fingers too long and jointed wrong, the skin peeling back like wet paper to reveal glistening bone beneath. As they screamed, the mirror shattered, not outward but inward, swallowing the sound as countless distorted reflections of their own face surged forward from the broken glass, whispering in unison, "We've been waiting." The last thing they felt was the icy pull as the hands dragged them through the fractured mirror into the suffocating dark where their own voice, now one of many, joined the chorus. The horrific truth crashed over them. The call hadn't been a prank or a ghost, but a desperate warning from their own future self, a final plea to escape the nightmare before time looped back on itself. As the realization took hold, the air grew thick with the scent of ozone and rotting flesh, the walls pulsating like living tissue. In the dark corner of the room, their own face materialized from the shadows, pale, sunken, and grinning with a mirthless smile that split too wide, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. Their future self's hollow eyes locked onto theirs, as it whispered in a voice like grinding glass, "See you soon." Before the room dissolved into static, the loop resetting, leaving only the echo of their own scream and the chilling certainty that this was not the first time, and it would never be the last. Was it a warning, a glitch in time, or something far worse lurking behind the reflection? Let me know in the comments, what would you do if you got a call from your own future self? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because next time it might be your phone that rings. Sleep tight.